Hello everyone, and welcome to the 9th Annual RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards Ceremony 2021. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Jim, your host for this evening's virtual celebration recognizing the contributions of some outstanding local educators.
While I'm sure, Jim, we would all love to celebrate with our winners in person, you are welcome to interact with us using the chat box. Feel free to send your congratulatory messages and applause emojis in the chat box when the winners are announced. To get your fingers all warmed up for when that time comes, drop a hello message in the chat box right now. Tell us whether you are a student, parent, or teacher, and what teacher you are rooting for today.
For those joining us for the first time, the RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards, or RFNDTA, is designed to recognize outstanding educators in the Barbados community who positively contribute to academic excellence. We are pleased to have inducted nearly 100 teachers to the NDTA Hall of Fame to date, representing all academic levels, from nursery school to tertiary institutions. Today, we celebrate with our latest winners, who despite the unusual times brought about by COVID-19, have risen to the occasion to ensure the continued delivery of quality education to our nation's youth.
Jim, without further ado, let us kick off today's festivities. Coming up next is President and CEO of RF Merchant Bank and Trust, Barbados Limited, Gillian Nunes.
Thank you, Jackie. On behalf of RF Merchant Bank and Trust, it is my pleasure to congratulate the 2021 RF NDTA winners. With all the changes that have taken place over the past few years as a result of the ongoing global health crisis, now more than ever we recognize the significant contribution of outstanding educators like you who go above and beyond to inspire our students. This has certainly not been an easy task. The World Health Organization estimates that more than 1 billion students worldwide are at risk of falling behind because of school closures meant to control COVID-19. We thank and celebrate you for being pillars of stability and normalcy for our youth during a time when things seemed anything but. Despite these very real challenges that exist not only globally, but also right here in Barbados, teachers like you have been in the trenches with your students, reaching out to parents, creating learning packets, spending countless hours developing engaging online content, and more recently, preparing classrooms for the resumption of in-person learning, all despite the toll the pandemic may have had on your own personal lives. Today's ceremony is evidence that your commitment to your students, your schools, and the Barbados community at large has not gone unnoticed. We commend you for rising up to the challenge of delivering quality education in this new normal, for being willing to adapt to circumstances of our day, to acquire and increase your digital proficiencies to support learners, whether they're in the classroom or in front of a computer screen, for cultivating self-direction and self-determination in students so that they can work more independently, and for partnering with principals, parents, and other educators to create a community of people with one common goal, to help students be the best they can be. As we celebrate you today, we also encourage you to share the skills you have gained and the lessons you have learned to inspire future educators. We need more teachers like you who represent all that the RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards stands for. Teachers who inspire enthusiastic learners and help foster academic excellence and high levels of achievement in their students, who positively contribute to the community inside and outside of the classroom, who model personal responsibility, commitment, and resilience, and who are willing to pivot, to be flexible, and do whatever it takes to create the best possible outcomes for their students. Once again, congratulations, teachers, on a job well done.
Thank you, Gillian, and I join you in congratulating this year's winners who prevailed despite less than ideal circumstances. I know we're all anxious to know who the 2021 RF NDTA winners are. But we must acknowledge our friends and partners whose support helped to make this event possible. Special thanks to the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training for their continued support. And Jackie, to our esteemed Blue Ribbon judging panel, Dr. Yvette Myers, Mrs. Beverly Bancroft, and Ms. Denise Phillips. We appreciate the time and effort you invested throughout the virtual judging and interview process.
Absolutely. And last, but certainly not least, a special thanks to our partners, CBC Radio and Morning Barbados, and to our sponsors, CIBC, First Caribbean International Bank,
Pan American International Insurance Corporation,
CGI, Consumers Guarantee Insurance,
the West Indian Biscuit Company,
and the Barbados Ice Cream Company.
We also would like to make special mention to Merville Lynch Productions, Premier Events, and Blades Trophies for continuing to support the program. Let's give them all some virtual applause in the chat.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. We shall begin the presentation with the first award category. We present to you the winners of the 2021 RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards Nursery category.
And the winners are Tanya Brown of Thelma Berry Nursery and Tiffany Scantleberry of Eden Lodge Nursery.
You will repeat after me, only Zanara answer my own. Dear God, bless the children.
When I was growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher. I would line my dolls up and I would play school. So you can say that I am living out a childhood fantasy and dream. I am motivated every day that I see my students, their bright-eyed, bushy-tails, ready to learn and investigate and explore the world around us. So my teaching style is varied. I try to incorporate all of the learning styles, whether it is visual, auditory, tactile, or kinesthetic. For examples, when I am teaching about numbers, we sometimes get to stomp out the number of the day, we get to clap it out, we get to jump around, move all around. We're using our whole bodies. We also look at the numbers themselves, the text of the number, the graphology of the number. We also get to count out and create sets. My most memorable moment in teaching was in my first year here at Thelma Berry. It was also my first year teaching the 3 to 4 age group. And one day I was in the hall at my desk and I heard my name calling from down the corridor. When I went to check, it was one of my students coming down with all of his clothes in his hand, running from the bathroom because he needed help. That incident, as jarring as it was, it really highlighted how much our students depend on us, not only to teach them ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but the other life skills, those soft skills that we need to get by and to flourish in our world. My advice to anyone coming into the teaching fraternity is to be flexible. Most days our plans get thrown out through the window, but we must remain calm and be able to think on our feet and adapt to any situation that may come our way. I would also advise them to be open-minded and willing to learn, whether they are learning from their colleagues, tutors, or even their students and their parents. Everyone has something that they're able to teach someone else.
As a teacher, I am motivated by seeing the smiles when the children reach the milestones that I want them to reach without telling them this is where I want them to get. Where they use self-exploration, they tap on prior knowledge. I build on things that their peers would have said, and they go through basically experiments on their own in their own little environments, because they're at home now. They're not at school where I can physically show them.
The farmers look after animals, and they call those animals livestock. Can you say that word?
I I'm not a fan of the online because they're missing out on a lot of concepts, a lot of teaching time, a lot of downtime because they don't really have the support that I think they would need to successfully gain the concepts and get to that milestone that they need to get before they go on into another class. My most memorable moment, there was a little boy who was unofficially in my class. He was selectively mute. Most people really thought that he did not talk at all. It was found out afterwards that he did have a developmental problem. He would speak to you, but after a time, because his brain he has what was called a computation issue. His brain needed a little bit of time to process the instructions that were given. But the child did talk. He just needed some patience and some guidance. That was my most memorable moment with him. And that brings me so much joy to see that I am teaching some person. I am molding some person into being better, into doing better, and always trying. I always try to encourage them. My motivation is seeing them do better than they were doing the day before.
Congratulations to our new RFNDTA Nursery winners. If one of our winners was your teacher, be sure to tell us and leave them a message of congratulations in the chat. Before we continue, Jackie, let's hear from one of our sponsors.
Absolutely.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
We are back for more awards. And now, the winners of the 2021 RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards primary category.
And the winners are Pauline Hines of Roland Edwards Primary School, Stephen Walker of Charles F. Broom Memorial Primary School, and Suzette Blair of Wesley Hall Junior School.
Well, my primary role as a teacher is to motivate children, to teach them, to want them to learn, to encourage them, to inspire them. And when I do that, you see the difference in children. When you give that individual attention, show the children that you are there for them, to help encourage them and so on. The children want to come to school, they want to learn, and you see it in their attitude.
Alicia, can you tell me the sound of R? Yes, R says R. So if you put a R together, we get R.
So every day I have to talk to the children, ask them how they're feeling. And then sometimes you hear children say, "Mom, we missed you, we want to be in school." And then there's also the challenge of the distractions in the home. So very often I have to, talk to them to get them to focus on me. Sometimes I might have to talk to the parent and let them understand, this is our school, so now the children have to be focused on the teacher, and try to get them not to be distracted with all the things around. As a teacher, there are lots of memorable moments, but the one that comes to mind, the most recent, would be last year when we were thrust into this online teaching environment, and I had a child in my class, and he has a medical condition. So his doctor recommended that he not be in class because we were back into school, face-to-face in the school. And his mother was very distraught. And she came to me, we had a discussion, and I told her, okay, I'm gonna try to see what we can do. And I spoke to the IT teacher, we came up with a code, and I was able to turn on my computer every day and log him on. When I got to school and it seemed as though it was taking too long to turn on my computer, they would say, "Ma'am, don't forget the carry." And then they would come to, and during the course of the day, they would come to the computer and they would talk to him and interact with him. And that made me very happy. I was overjoyed. His mother was happy, and he was able to be at school with us, and his learning could continue.
I love to encourage children to embrace each other as a family, to work collectively as a group, but also to think critically. I love to empower my students because I know that I am nurturing them to be nation builders. Now, firstly, you are to explain what is meant by the term discount. As a teacher, I love when my students think critically, when they work together as a team. I love when my children step out of the box because I want to ensure our students are the best version of themselves. Virtual teaching has been an experience. It has really caused me to think outside of the box. It has changed my way of how I deliver instruction because I recognize that this is different times. Now, there's so many challenges that you may encounter on a day-to-day basis. However, it is through having healthy relationships with your students and also parents that you can get through this particular phase of the pandemic. Now, initially when it first started, I recognized that, I had to learn new skills, I had to embrace the technology, and I had to make it work for me at that particular time. But now I can say that I have invested in tools to help me to deliver my instruction to the best of my ability, but also that children can feel comfortable with what is being done. In the year 2015, there was a child who wanted to play church. And this was an interesting, situation. And I said, I can do this. We were on the pasture and the children came together and this child just, went into his element. And during that particular phase in my journey, I was going through a situation. And he said to me, "Sir, I want to pray for you." And the child stepped forward just like a pastor would do, and he placed his hands on my forehead. And he started to pray a prayer. And he said, "God will open doors for you, Mr. Walker. You need to walk in faith." He said to me, "There are opportunities out there, and you need to be obedient." From that day, I knew that I would have impacted someone's life.
I was inspired to teach because I lived next door to a school with children with challenges, and just seeing how they needed somebody to be there for them and having a different approach to teaching them. I said from the time I was in secondary school that I wanted to do nothing else, because when you teach, you not only just change a life, but you can change a whole nation. My teaching style is quite eclectic. Depending on the day, depending on the students I'm teaching, depending on the topic, I will conform to suit. So if I'm teaching something, for example, about planting, I certainly will not be doing that in a classroom. We're going to be on the outside with a hoe, a shovel, a fork, and we're going to be doing some real planting.
What the things that Anaya, let me see what you have, Anaya. Let me pin you to the screen. Yes, go ahead, Anaya. Show us what you have.
I have water.
You have your water.
Lemonade.
Lemonade. Or you have lemon juice. You have lemon juice.
Jelly. And sugar.
Sugar.
Connecting with my students virtually is not very difficult, because with my eclectic approach, I make sure the first thing I do is to get to know my students, because they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So once you have that relationship going, you pretty much can have, do anything online. And I usually marvel when I hear people sometimes say that their children don't want to come online. My challenge is getting my children to come off. So just keeping them engaged and have the sessions being very interactive, I think that works. For persons aspiring to be educators, I would encourage you to find out if teaching is really what you want to do, because you are not just impacting on or influencing that individual in front of you at that particular time, you're influencing him or her, the parents, people in his or her community, and the nation on the whole. So make sure that you're passionate about teaching, about children, about individuals, whomever is in front of you at that point in time.
Congratulations to the winners of the 2021 RFNDTA primary category. Let's get those applause emojis going in the chat for our primary teacher superstars. Before we announce the school with the most nomination, here's a word from our sponsor.
Wake up to a brand new day of news and interviews. Wake up for the morning report and the latest on what's happening in news from 6 a.m. with Shane Seeley. Then join me, Pearson, and see ourselves celebrating who we are when Morning Barbados starts at 6:30. So wake up with us Monday to Friday in the morning.
We hope everyone watching is enjoying the ceremony so far. You must be extremely proud of your past or present teachers, family members, or friends. Next up, we have the secondary and special needs categories. But before we do, we are pleased to announce the school with the most nominations and the winner of a cash prize toward a school development project.
Jim, virtual drum roll. The school with the most nominations and the winner of a $3,000 prize is St. Leonard's Boys Secondary School. Congratulations to all the staff, parents, alumni, and students who voted for your favorite St. Leonard's teacher. Let us hear from Mr. Stephen Scott, principal of St. Leonard's Boys Secondary School.
We at the St. Leonard's Boys School in Barbados are honored that we have been named School of the Year. Indeed, here at the only boys secondary school on the island, we are attempting to be the most highly effective schools. In that vein, we are engaging in several activities to ensure that that is achieved. We ensure that our students are always on task. We ensure that we have a safe and orderly environment. We ensure that we have high expectations of our students. And we ensure that we give our students the motivation that is needed for them to succeed at whatever level that they may be. At the school, we engage in the positive behavioral management program, where we encourage our students to ensure that they strive to be the best at all times. Our school has risen to the top in several areas in sports, such as football, volleyball, basketball, only to mention a few, but also in athletics, where we continue to excel. Indeed, in the area of music, we excel with our 100-voice choir, as well as our various bands and other aspects of steel pan and other ways of engaging in music. We also hone our students' skills in the technical and vocational areas, and indeed we want to be centers of excellence in the areas of sports, the arts, business, and technical and vocational. It is through this that we continue to strive to be the best that we can be.
Now, moving on to our third category of the evening. The winners of the 2021 RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards secondary category.
And the winners are Andrea Baptiste of Ellerslie Secondary School, Joy Ann Smith O'Connor of St. George Secondary School, and Faye Williams of Government Industrial School.
I simply wanted to be in a service-oriented profession. I started out thinking I wanted to be a police officer. I did the interview, went through all the testing. I also wanted to be a nurse, and I believe that this was some kind of divine intervention or guidance, and here I am. I have no regrets. Again, I must say that it has a lot to do with a passion for people. If you are going to come into the profession of teaching, you have to love people. Inevitably, the online schooling has presented a plethora of challenges. One such challenge, of course, is the fact that the students do not have the opportunity to interact with each other face to face. And this is always important in terms of the development of a child socially. Our school has tried as much as possible to deal with this challenge while online. Therefore, we usually have a number of programs organized for the students to simply have fun, whether it is a Valentine's Day concert, whether it is an opportunity for them to do some karaoke on a particular afternoon. We also continued with some of the clubs online. We had an art and craft club still going, so children were able to go into art and craft on afternoons. We also host the ISCF, the National ISCF at our school online. So these are ways that we tried as much as possible to deal with that issue. I have some salient advice to give anyone who wants to get into teaching. If you want to be an educator, remember it is not about the remuneration at all. You have to come in with a passion for children. You have to love children. You have to love people. It is a profession that requires you to have some very strong social skills.
I always wanted to be a teacher. From the time I know myself, I wanted to be a teacher. But when I started to teach, I realized that it wasn't really the teaching that I loved, but more so the children. So it's not what I love, but who I love most about teaching. It's my students. Being able to serve and being able to help them is what I love most, and not to teach them academically only, but to help them socially and emotionally as well. And I love online school. I know the limitations of it in terms of the students, but I love the technology. I like to use it in my classroom. I've also created an Instagram page called Joy's World of English. I love the page. You know, it started out for my students to engage them while they're scrolling through social media, you know, to reach them where they're at. But now I found that adults love the page as well. So I put some tips onto my page for parents as well. And parents who do not have they may not be able to go out and get the information readily. So I give them some tips so they can also help their children. And it could also be for teachers as well. Teachers who find the page useful, the content useful, and want to send their students, you know, to engage on the page. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians 13 that speaks about love. It says, love is patient, love is kind, it keeps no record of wrongs, it perseveres. If you want to get into teaching, you have to love the children, love what you do. Be patient with them. You know, they're children, they're still learning. Be kind, because some of them, that's the only kindness they're ever going to get. It keeps no record of wrongs, and I know it's hard because we're human beings, and sometimes when somebody offends us, you know, we take it to heart, but you have to let that go. And it's a process, you know, you have to continually strive to do it. Let that go, and the next day, start clean, you know, so that you'll be able to engage the student properly and also persevere. Sometimes the lesson is not going to go as you want. You sit back, you reflect on the lesson, you go again. The class may not have grasped the concept. But that's okay, you know, you go back and you try again, so you persevere. So any teacher that wants to get into teaching, once they love the students and love the job, they can be all right.
I was born to teach, and I would lean to the example where my grandmother used to say that I used to teach bricks outside from an early age. So I think that the love for teaching, the love of the interaction of students, especially at-risk youth, is what I love most. I teach students that will be deemed by society as at-risk youth or juvenile delinquents who have been sentenced by the court to stay there for a maximum of 3 years or 18 years, whichever comes first. When the judge made the decision that you will be better off at the government industrial school, that is where I meet you, and that is where I try my best to give you the best education possible. It is completely different. The fact that a lot of them aren't interested in school. So I have to get myself into a frame of mind to come down to them, to say, all right, maybe today you don't want to do, you don't want to write notes, you don't want to participate in school at all. I have to find ways without you knowing that you are learning to encourage them to actually perform. So I would say it's quite different, but it still remains the same, because in a regular secondary school too, you have to come up with different strategies. You have to know your students, and when you get the advantage of knowing your students one-on-one, you know how to cater to them. And with a smaller classroom setting, I get that advantage because I know what are their triggers and what are their motivators. My most memorable moment will be last year when 2 of my students have moved on now into an older secondary school and one into the BCC. They both left with about 4 or 5 C's each. And I mean, despite all odds, they took full advantage of their education and they're doing so well. And that was one of my proudest moments as a teacher.
Jim, congratulations to all those winners, and a special congratulations to Miss Andrea Baptiste, who has moved on from the secondary teaching level and is now the principal at Graysetts Primary School. Jim, we are down to our final category. It was truly a pleasure hosting this awards ceremony with you, as recognized the hard work and commitment these teachers have shown to their students, colleagues, and community. I see a lot of love in the comments for all our teachers, and we thank all our viewers for sticking with us so far.
Jackie, I agree with you. It is truly an honor to recognize the tireless efforts of these amazing teachers.
Absolutely.
Coming up next are the winners of our special needs category.
When we say money at work, what are we talking about? We're talking about going beyond what you would expect from a typical investment bank. With the RF brokerage account, you can enjoy the ease of having all of your securities custodied in one place. You have access to guidance from professional traders with years of industry experience as you buy and sell securities. And you have access to all your dividend income and investment returns directly from your brokerage account. But we've gone even further. Not only can you house all your investments in one place, but you can leverage your portfolio for cash to buy additional securities or for any purpose. There are no fixed monthly payments and receive your funds within 24 hours. With RF, you get access to the widest range of public and private Barbadian investment opportunities in the market. So you can create not just wealth, but generational wealth right at home. And not only will you have access through an RF brokerage account, but also to a range of banking services, wire transfers, and more. With RF, money at work means going beyond the typical with real and innovative ways to help more Barbadians create and manage wealth.
Welcome back. Now, for the winners of the 2021 RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards Special Needs category.
And the winners are Jillian Cadogan of Eagle Hall Primary School and Philippa Brereton Selby of Darrell Jordan Secondary School.
As a teacher, I'm motivated by the development of my students. I am over the moon when they exceed expectations, when they set goals and achieve them, because socially, special needs education may be that area that the expectations are not as high as they should be. So when students achieve, that really motivates me. My teaching style is one that considers what the student really needs. I believe in authentic learning. I use resources and ideas to make sure that everything that is taught is applicable to the real world, and that students understand that everything they learn is completely necessary. No learning is irrelevant, and it is useful for them, and that gives them the incentive to want to be there, because they know what they're learning is for them. What I love most about teaching is to see my students excel and develop academically, socially, emotionally. Special needs education is the area that expectations may not be as high as we would want them to be, but when students achieve their goals and do their best, they follow instructions, they get over some of the inherent characteristics of their own disability to do more and more. That's what I love most about teaching. My most memorable moments as a teacher are quite a few, but what stands out for me is when I'm approached by my former students who are now adults, they have families, and they meet me in public and they say, Ms. Cadogan, I'm doing this, or I've achieved that, and this means a lot to me. I would want persons who are aspiring to be educators to understand that teachers have an influence on the psyche of their students, and that this influence can impact whether students love school or they don't. And that what we say, how we behave, what we do, this is all important, and that God has given us an awesome responsibility, and we have to take it seriously.
When I first started out, I never left Barbados to go and train to be a teacher. I wanted to go into occupational therapy. But then I saw this program for students with behavioral and emotional disorders. And at that time I thought, here's something that we usually think of disabilities as only those students who have physical disabilities. But here we were looking at students with emotional problems and stuff like this, and you could actually make a difference. So that's one of the things that pulled me into the area of teaching. And I do have a love for those boys, especially with behavioral issues that others will sideline. As a teacher working with students with a lot of different learning styles, first, it is not to be stuck in one place. It's to make sure that I'm willing to accommodate all of the students with these different learning styles. There's some children who are auditory, like I am a visual learner myself. So you have to be able to say, okay, I am not, if in the traditional classroom, a teacher might just call spelling words and that's it for the child. But you can have visual discrimination where the words are incorrect, or one word in the group might be correct. A child can choose from that and find it. So he's not just listening for the word, he's also using the visual cues that will help him. Can anyone tell me what is a sentence? Yes, Faith?
A sentence is a group of words that make sense.
Okay. I think one of the biggest problems for me online with our students, especially who have learning difficulties, is many of them are struggling on the platform because sometimes there's no one there to assist them. Like a teacher was just telling me she can't even get students to present their screen. Some of them don't understand how to do certain things. Now, if you're in the classroom, it becomes much easier and to guide them through it. We have students coming to us sometimes who cannot even identify letters of the alphabet. So to tell them to sit down, type you something for you right there. Some of them do not have a parent who might be home. Parents are out to work. We have, during this time, a number of our students have fallen off the platform because they are not coming online. We make a difference. The number of students that we are losing, especially in the schools like where I teach, these are the children who end up on the streets because they are not getting the education that they deserve. So you need to really think about it. Am I really coming into this field to make a difference, or is I just coming in to make money, which is, we don't make that kind of money, but to make some money and to get some vacation and relax? No, that's not what it's all about. You gotta be dedicated to what you're doing.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations again to all of our 2021 RF National Distinguished Teachers Award winners. To all the viewers and supporters, thank you for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
If you missed any part of the ceremony, you can watch it again on our Facebook page and YouTube channel at RF Bank and Trust. Thank you for sharing your congratulatory messages to the winners and showing them your appreciation. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Jim.
Good evening.
Good evening.